As the prominence of women's soccer continues to grow around the world, college coaches are increasing their efforts to recruit star players from outside the United States, and Virginia Tech is no different. Last season, 3 of Virginia Tech's 11 freshmen on the women's soccer team were internationals, with 2 of them hailing from our northern neighbor, Canada, Maddie Buteau from St. Constant, Quebec, and Christine Abelmeyer from Ottawa, Ontario. For more information on their soccer journey and why they chose Virginia Tech, I spoke with the players as well as women's soccer staff members Emma Treptow and Danny Placzynski.
Yeah, well, I came on like a in-person visit with my dad, and we kind of got to tour the school, meet the team. I watched the game, and I actually only went on one visit, and it was Virginia Tech, and I liked everything about it. They really made like a good impression, and they made me feel like at home and comfortable. So it was like a no-brainer for me to come here.
While it can be hard to play away from home, for both players, the transition into Virginia Tech's locker room was pretty seamless.
Women's soccer is really fun because they all genuinely get along. I know that Maddie and Christine and some of the other freshmen, they'll do Dancing with the Stars, watch parties with the other members of the team, and they'll do studying together, and some of them are living together already, and so just kind of seeing that evolve from like an on-the-field duty to an off-the-field personal friendship and relationship for all of them has been really cool.
I think that the seniors and like the team did a really good job at including the freshmen and making us feel like at home and comfortable. And in terms of academics, it was hard to balance at first, like with traveling during season and stuff like that. But like we have study hall hours that are mandatory, and having an academic advisor really helps in terms of that. So obviously there's like the adaptation aspect, but it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I would definitely second that. I thought like everybody was super welcoming, always very supportive. So it was pretty seamless.
Buteau instantly became an integral part of the Hokies on the field, starting all 18 games for Virginia Tech in the fall. Speaking with head coach Chugger Adair, he made it clear that Buteau's ability in possession provided a very calming presence that was much needed in the back line.
There was no mention of Maddie in the preseason. Next thing you know, she's starting literally almost every game. I thought Maddie did a really, really, really phenomenal job adjusting onto the field.
I'd say it was pretty stressful at first coming in as like a freshman and also playing on we're both center backs. So there's a certain like responsibility that comes to that. So if you make a mistake, it can lead to a goal. It's like a different type of responsibility than if you're a forward, let's say. So I'd say it was pretty overwhelming, but once again, like the team really helped when it came to that. Like I was playing along like Kylie, which is like a more experienced center back. So she definitely made me feel like more confident.
She is a quality center back, and she worked really well next to Kylie all year. Obviously, there's some growing pains with there being 3 freshmen on the back line, but I think what we saw from them shows that there is a lot of growth and a lot of positives for the next 3 years during her time here.
Interestingly, the way soccer is played in both countries is quite different and can take some getting used to. Coach Chugger claims that the American game is more intense and faster paced, a sentiment that Buteau shared.
Well, in terms of physicality, it's a lot like there's a lot more physicality in the game in the States. I feel like at home, at least like where like in Quebec, it's a lot more like the technical aspect, and we don't really touch on like the cardio, strength, speed, and stuff like that. So coming here, that was a big change. And I had never lived like in an environment where it was like you train every single day. Like there is soccer in university in Canada, but it's not as big, like not nearly as big. So it's definitely like a big culture change. And it's a lot like more of a professional environment here, I would say.
It's easy for fans to forget that these athletes are also students, taking on college workloads in addition to travel, practices, and games. Virginia Tech provides multiple resources to ensure that international students can succeed both in the classroom and on the field.
Honestly, I think Virginia Tech does a phenomenal job of providing resources, whether it's an American student athlete or an international student athlete. Some of the resources, we have an excellent mental health and counseling resource for our student athletes. I know that we have a very extensive and awesome academic staff, and I think sometimes that can play a role. As you know, you're a new student athlete, you're international, you're coming in, you're adjusting to all these things, but you also have to do school, and maybe you're not as super fluent in English, and I think we have the academic resources here to really help them. While women's soccer might not have an overwhelming amount of international student athletes, Chugger and that coaching staff has experience with it, and so they are able to know, like, they can identify if maybe a new student athlete is having issues or the best way to do that. So I think having that constant international student athlete presence on women's soccer just helps the new athletes that are coming in.
Recently, Virginia Tech announced that 2 members of the incoming freshman class are also Canadian, Alyssa Garreau and Adeline Manty.
What I think is really interesting, like, so men's soccer and swimming, for example, they recruit a ton of European international athletes. I think women's soccer going the Canada route is really interesting. I'm hoping that, they're seeing something and they're recognizing something that they saw in Maddie and Christine, hopefully with others. I know that their club experience is a little bit different. I think it's a little bit more intense. And so if we're able to go find international student athletes that are more ready to play at this level, not even the D1 level, but specifically the ACC women's soccer level, I think sometimes we see international student athletes just coming in with more experience that not all of our American student athletes have.
I'm also excited to be like, when you're freshmen, like you're kind of taking advice from older people, and our team in terms of like seniors, there's not that many internationals. I think actually all our internationals are freshmen.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to kind of be able to be the one to like lead and like give people advice in like that aspect. I think it's going to be exciting.
If I was going to a new country and my team was full of people from Italy, but there was one other American, I have to imagine that would make me feel more comfortable. And so I'm hoping that like with Maddie and Christine, maybe if we keep going the Canada route, that like they will really be able to be kind of their own support system in addition to all the other resources that Virginia Tech can provide.
Coach Adair says that he expects both players to have an instant impact on the team next season, contributing to a squad that hopes to compete for an ACC title and an NCAA tournament spot. Reporting from Blacksburg, Virginia, I'm Javier Mico-Crump.